Is it actually possible to just walk into the woods? You can remain undetected with enough planning and preparation. If it's not privately owned, it's publicly, government-owned, and someone might walk through once a year. But it's possible. Not for just any random city person, though. There are people out there living that life, but they're not gonna comment here. You can only walk halfway into a forest, then you start walking out. You all must be from the East Coast on the west side of the country. There are vast swaths of land where one could walk for weeks without finding another soul. Try BLM. Bureau of Land Management. Land before national parks. They are much less visited and monitored, but popular with hunters come late summer through late fall. Idaho's Sawtooth Mountains would be an excellent choice. Eastern Oregon and Washington would work great. Much of eastern California is extremely sparsely populated, and Nevada is a hidden gem in terms of public land and forested areas. One guy did it, and the book is called The Stranger in the Woods. Spent 27 years in the woods and never talked to anyone. He had to break into cabins and camps for food to survive. Crazy difficult, and he almost died more than once. Realistically, it can't be done. He was one in a million. Interesting read. Everything is owned. Not everything is monitored. But more importantly, do you actually know how to live and survive in the woods? Many people have done it. I've heard of stories of people who went undetected for over a decade. But eventually you are found, and the owner of the land can force you to leave. If you are trying to do it so you can eventually die a slow and painful death in the woods. I'm not sure why you would choose that route. But hey, that's your decision. I mean, if you have some serious survival skills, you might be able to live in remote parts of national forests indefinitely. I don't think it's technically legal. But unless you're causing problems, I don't believe the governor would care enough to try to find you and make you stop. And that's assuming they know you are there, which they likely wouldn't. But I'm talking deep in the woods, mountains. Not a few miles off the highway or outside of a small town. But in a place that other people will almost certainly not be. A place that's not easy to get to. The problem is that if you ever needed something, hospital, food, etc., you'd pretty much be screwed. Every bit of land is owned by someone. But there's plenty of places you could disappear into if you knew how. You should watch the show Alone. Wow. What are the chances this pops up on my recommended? Here is how I see it. You would probably not go away forever if you went into the woods. Assuming you didn't die. But you would come back changed forever. It sounds to me like you are looking for reasons to live. Not a reason to die. And you come off sounding like a strong inspirational person in your comments on this post. Not someone who is giving up. Maybe the woods are calling you in another way? It reminds me I need to spend more time in them. Myself. Either way, reading this somehow gave me inspiration and made me feel more hopeful for some reason. So thank you for that. Learn ways to make money foraging. Buy a 4-wheel drive truck you can fix. Buy a chainsaw. Sell firewood. Buy a rifle and become proficient. Stake a mining claim. Buy dehydrated food to start. Figure out solar and power. Could take years. You are in BC, is good chance Bigfoot will adopt you. Several years ago there was a guy in my area who went missing. Turns out he went to a very large park in the area and just lived there for like a week. No one found him. When he walked out he was a lot thinner because he barely ate anything. But otherwise fine. After a fashion. Yeah. Like others have said. You're not going to find an unclaimed parcel of land. But you don't really need to. My family has land abutting a state woodland in the Appalachian foothills. It's miles from the nearest paved road, and it has a reputation for its rowdy and lawless folks. I have no doubt that my father, like countless other rural nonconformists all over the country, would let you settle on some untended corner of land for as long as you needed, as long as you promised not to set fire to anything or shoot out his floodlight. I met people living on BLM land in OR back in the early 70s. And in MT, where I lived in the 70s and 80s, it was known that there were mountain men who lived in the national forests. They'd come out now and then for supplies, or maybe for the winter, then head out in the spring. In the 70s and 80s, the Olympic National Forest in Wa was home to many Vietnam vets who chose to live in the wilderness rather than try and re-enter regular society. ID was another popular choice for disappearing. I've seen a documentary about an ex-Army Ranger who went into the woods of Washington state with just his Bowie knife. He hid in an abandoned mine until the sheriff flushed him out with the help of the National Guard. Later he blew up a gas station with a machine gun. Even on East Coast there are vast stretches of woods you could totally live in without ever being found, mostly in the mountains. Go northwest shedding tree. Dad?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.